to reach your destiny. You need people that try to throw you into the pit, discredit you, push you down so you can take your throne. If Joseph's brothers betraying him would have kept him from becoming the prime minister, God would have never allowed it. People can't override what God has ordained for you. Bad breaks, detours, delays, injustice, they're not stopping your destiny. Just the opposite. They're moving you into your destiny. A few years after Victoria and I were married, we received an unexpected tax bill in the mail. The person that did our tax returns lived in another state. He was unfamiliar with a certain law in Texas. Now we owed thousands of dollars. We were a young couple, saving up for a down payment on a house. This was going to take all of our funds. Not only that, about half of what we owed was because of penalties. I thought, God, this is not fair. I hired a professional. He messed up. Now I'm having to pay for his mistakes. We ended up finding a man to help us get it straightened out. He's a tax attorney. For several weeks, he was at our house every night for hours. We were going over documents, filling out new forms. We became good friends. Well, 10 years later, I was working at the church for my father in the television department. Someone offered us a construction permit for the last full-power television station in Houston. A station in a big market, of course, is very valuable, but I didn't know anything about buying a construction permit. Then I thought, I'll call my attorney friend, the one I met during the tax issue. 6 months later, we had a signed contract. We owned the station. We put it on the air. Everything was great. Eventually, my father went to be with the Lord, and I became the pastor. It was 3 years after that, we acquired the Compaq Center. It was going to cost $100 million to renovate. We decided to sell the station. We sold it for a significant profit. Those funds were instrumental in us renovating this facility. But it all started with the tax issue. I couldn't see it at the time. I thought it was a bad break. I realize now it was all serving his plan. If I hadn't have had the tax problem, I would have never met my attorney friend. Without the attorney, I would have never pursued the station. Without the station, we may not have had the funds to renovate this place. I wonder if you're upset over something that's serving his plan. A door that closed, a person that walked away, a delay that's taken longer than you thought. Doesn't make sense. Stay in peace. It's all a part of the plan. It looks like it's hindering you. Really, it's helping you. It feels like it's setting you back, but really it's setting you up for something you've never seen. God knows what you're going to need in the future. I never dreamed I would be a pastor. Never dreamed one day we would own the Compaq Center, but God knew. And that tax problem that was somebody else's fault, that looked like a bad break, the truth is that was God ordering my steps into something that was unfair. And if you don't understand it, everything serves his plan. You'll get discouraged, bitter, give up on dreams. This is what keeps many people from seeing what God was up to behind the scenes. The reason Joseph saw it all come together is he kept doing the right thing when the wrong thing was happening. He kept being good to people that weren't being good to him. He passed the test. Many of the challenges that you're facing now, the things that don't make sense, they don't have anything to do with now. It's positioning you for something in your future. If you will stay in faith, you will see how God will begin to connect the dots, how it was all strategically orchestrated, a part of his plan. There was a man out in his boat. Big storm came up and his boat capsized. He was able to swim to the shore, but he ended up stranded on a deserted island all by himself. Week after week went by and he was so miserable. He kept praying and praying for God to send somebody, but it seemed like the heavens were silent. Just when he didn't think it could get any worse, one day while he was out gathering food, when he came back, the small thatched roof hut that he had built somehow caught on fire. He stood there and watched it go up in flames. It was like pouring salt on the wound. He said, God, I give up. I ask you to help me, and one bad thing after another happens. About an hour later, he saw a boat way off in the distance. He perked up. It kept getting closer and closer. Sure enough, it was the Coast Guard coming to rescue him. Couldn't believe it. Ran out there and gave him a big hug. Said, "How in the world did you find me?" The captain said, "We saw the smoke coming from the fire that you built." Sometimes what we think is a disappointment is really God positioning us for a new level. I didn't like the tax issue, but I do like being in the Compaq Center. If your hut's on fire today, instead of being bitter, complaining, have a new perspective. It's serving His plan. May not make sense now. Being in the pit is uncomfortable. Being falsely accused is not fair. The Judas kiss, the betrayal, the closed doors can be discouraging. But you have to keep reminding yourself it's not working against you, it's working for you. Sooner than later, you're going to see what God was up to. A friend of mine had a dream to play professional football. He's extremely talented, very fast and athletic. In high school, he was the star player, a running back that broke many of the school records. His future looked very bright. He started training harder than ever, getting ready for college. Coaches from major universities would attend his games. His junior year, he was offered a full scholarship to one of the most prestigious football schools. He was excited. His dream was coming to pass. But during the fourth game in his senior year, he was hit below the knee and felt something pop. He tore his ACL. He laid on the field in shock, knowing that his season was over. He'd never had an injury, never missed a game. He was so disappointed. He was raised in a good family, but they didn't know much about God. They didn't have any kind of faith. That wasn't a part of their life. A friend invited him to a youth camp. When he heard the minister speak, he felt something so strong on the inside. That night, he gave his life to Christ. It was a complete turnaround in his life. After the surgery, he was doing the rehab, trying to get back in shape. But sitting on the sidelines, watching his team play, he began to feel new desires on the inside. He no longer wanted to play football. He wanted to become a pastor. Didn't make sense to his family, his friends, after years of training so hard, but he knew he was supposed to go into ministry. So he passed on the big football scholarship, and he enrolled in a leadership college. Today, our friend Nick Nilsson is one of our pastors here at Lakewood, a great minister. Nick told me if he had not had that injury, if God had not put his football career on hold, he would have never pursued ministry. God had to pause what Nick thought he wanted to do and redirect him to what he was created to do. But at first, he was disappointed. It didn't make sense, but you don't know what God is up to. God will never close a door without opening a bigger and a better door. What you're tempted to be upset about today, if you'll keep the right attitude, one day you'll look back and say like Nick, "Lord, thank you for closing that door. Now I can see what you were doing, taking me somewhere that I never dreamed. Thank you for moving that person out of my life. I would have never met my amazing spouse. Thank you for not letting that company hire me. I would have never started my own business." Nick says, "I still love football, but I wouldn't change a thing. This is what I was born to do." Well, Joel, why is this challenge taking so long? Why isn't anything happening? When is it going to turn around? Sometimes God is not removing the obstacle because He's using the obstacle to get us prepared. He's training us to get us ready for where He's taking us. We don't grow in the good times when everything's going our way, everyone is for us, things are falling into place. We prefer that much better, but we wouldn't reach our potential. We grow when it's difficult, when there's resistance, we're uncomfortable, when we have to stretch. That's why you can't pray away every challenge. You can't pray away everything you don't like. If the situation is not changing, then God is using the situation to change you. After Joshua died, the Israelites were in the promised land. They were living their dream. But the scripture says God left certain enemy armies in the land. He did this to teach warfare to the next generation of Israelites who had no experience in battle. God could have had Joshua and the previous generations clear the path, wipe out all the opposition. The problem is, this new generation, when they faced an enemy army, they would have been defeated. They wouldn't have had the strength, the experience, the training. So God, on purpose, left obstacles in their path. If God made everything easy for us, if we never had a Judas kiss, a betrayal, a closed door, we wouldn't be ready for where we're going. God has amazing things in your future, things you've never imagined, but to get there, you're going to have to defeat some big giants, overcome some big obstacles, outlast some strong opposition. It's not going to happen if you're weak, if you get overwhelmed. Why is this happening? No, you have to stand strong and show the opposition that you're more determined than they are. God didn't bring you this far to leave you. That problem is not there to stop you. It's there to prepare you. That challenge is not going to defeat you. It's going to promote you. Every day you stay in faith. You thank God when nothing's happening. You do the right thing when it's not improving. Your spiritual muscles are growing. You're getting stronger, more determined, developing a greater trust in God. Instead of complaining about what's not turning around, see that as an opportunity to develop your faith. Don't just go through it, grow through it. It's